say, I think part of it was a percentage of Medicare, the other part was Medicare minus some percentage, but they described that as approximate, and they were going to get back to you later in the year to tell you definitively, apparently, what the amount is going to be. I'll be honest with you, I don't know that that is going to fly with the regulators if you wanted to object to that. So, you know, and if they do come back to you at some point and give you this new rate, you know, somebody brought it up over here. There may be an opportunity at that point to object and opt out at that point. And then, of course, the last question is: not only is it adequately described, is it adequate? And unfortunately, that I can't tell you that. Obviously, again, somebody else brought this up before. There is nothing out there, you know, specifying what has to be paid for these products. So you're not obligated to take Medicaid. You're not obligated to take Medicare. It's whatever you agree to with the plan. Now, frankly, I think the logic of getting paid at Medicaid or Medicare is not particularly compelling. Certainly from an intellectual standpoint, whether it makes sense in the business sense is something that you'll have to decide. So, you know, what can you do to protect yourself? And I found it instructive that, or very interesting, I had not heard this before, that people have been calling up and they seem to be backpedaling just on phone calls from any provider who calls and says, I'm objecting to it. So I would recommend you pepper them with calls about looking for more details and you know, and complaining if you think the rates are inadequate. So it sounds like they are being, I think, at least they're listening to what's being said. Whether or not they do anything about it is a separate question. But it hurts nothing to pick up the phone and make your voice heard. Beyond that, obviously for the solo practitioner or the small practice, it's very difficult. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's very difficult. You're not likely to be able to negotiate terms in the agreement. So, you know, you're going to be watching out for, if you're going to try it, if you're going to try participating, you just want to be aware of what are your abilities to get out of the contract if it goes bad. So if you find that it's you know, it's killing you in the first year, you want to be aware of, if you have the ability to get out on 180 days notice, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to those time frames and you are making that determination in a manner that allows you to exercise that right. From the larger practice perspective, you may have more ability to negotiate terms in addition to the rates themselves. I mean, there may be some other things that you want to pay attention to, in particular, negotiating a right to take a deposit up front, because we're talking about, you know, business that is going to include a lot more out-of-pocket cost sharing, going to require you to do more work to chase it. And so, you know, instead of the typical scenario where you have to submit the claim first, then you get the answer back and tell you how much you can pursue, then you got to go pursue the patient. You know, it's obviously better if you can take a deposit up front, and this, you know, may require, we've done some language with different payers which, you know, specifies that there'll be some mechanism for you to check